Pow.
Oh, bang. Hydro and Co. episode something. We got the boys, the squad. The usual three, the only three, it seems like. No offense. Be rich and
Only three that
Bryce.
matter.
Yeah.
We're a big three at this point.
We're the big three. I called me and Chris Bosch.
I want D-Wade.
Chase your LeBron.
Well, my name is James, so it works.
Actually, can I be Zindrilis Ilgauskas?
We're not doing this.
But anyway, this week's episode, we're talking WBC bracket. We're going to be making our predictions on who's taking home the trophy. We're also talking about some more NFL free agency. A lot has happened between Monday and today. So in the last 4 days, I don't know if any of y'all were in attendance for the Pat McAfee show on Aaron Rodgers Wednesday. Yeah, it was like 550K. That was insanity. I was in there too. And I just saw it. Like I got on at 11 and it was like 100, 105, which for him is about usual. And then it was 200, 400, 5. I'm like, damn, we're fucking blowing up. But
yeah, that's more than some of the shows on cable TV.
Yeah, honestly.
Whenever he goes, yeah, I'm going to the Jets. It's just a matter of them working out the trade right now. Me and the dude I was riding with was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like wrestling stuff, like they're averaging like 1.1 million. Like, so half the audience just for an online YouTube live stream is pretty insane.
Pretty good.
But other than NFL free agency and the WBC, we'll also be deep diving back into baseball to do the NL East predictions. Who we think might win the division. Kendall has his Vegas lines already set. He talked to Caesar Sportsbook today. He got that lined up. But either way, let's get into the show. So let's start with the WBC. Let's go baseball, football, baseball. Like a sports sandwich of sorts. Edwin Diaz, golly, that was not good. That was brutal. And, you know, one thing I want to talk about and get y'all opinions on right off rip is, you know, we were already talking about in the beginning, right before the WBC started, was players leaving for injury before the tournament even started, players on certain restrictions. Like Edwin Diaz was a player already on a restriction. He wasn't allowed to pitch back-to-back days. So if he pitched one day, he couldn't pitch the next day because the Mets set that restriction because they didn't want him to be getting hurt that early on in the year. But can't really predict someone to tear a patella tendon, jumping up and down and celebrating after a save. So how do you feel like this affects moving forward how MLB teams are maybe possibly more reluctant to let their players play in the tournament?
I think kind of a little twist. I think it will affect the team's mindset, obviously, but I think it's going to affect the players' mindset more like, hey, this guy went to the WBC and he's going to miss the entire MLB season, and it wasn't even an in-game injury. It was celebrating after. So I think that'll be in the back of players' minds, keeping them hesitated not to play going forward, which, I mean, at this point, I understand because at the WBC is more of like a pride thing. They just go there to try to win for their country. It's not like they're making millions of dollars off of it. So whatever athletes think, I could see either way. I would love for more athletes, especially starting pitchers, to play in it because that would make it better because there's not a whole lot of starting pitchers that will actually do it. But I think with this injury, there will probably be a few like hitters that will be very hesitant to do it.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite actually. I mean, obviously the owners they won't want their players to participate, but I feel like the players won't change their mind because Mike Trout said this is the most fun he's had playing baseball in a while, and you know, you got Shohei throwing 102 in a tournament that is meaningless to some. So I don't think the players will change, but definitely the owners are going to be more cautious now. But at the same time, it was an injury that could have literally happened at any place. I mean, he did it by jumping. It wasn't like he hurt himself pitching or making like a great defensive play. He was jumping up and down, and it just snapped. So it was a freak. It was a freaking injury that's unfortunate because the next time the WBC comes around, you might not see a lot of star power in other countries as well. So it's unfortunate, but I think the players are still going to continue to push to play in the WBC.
That's good to know. And as you can see, looking at this bracket, we've already had a couple games played. Japan tripled up on Italy. I think that was to be clearly expected. Italy doesn't really have much star power. They have a couple ex-MLB guys, a couple current MLB guys, but nowhere near the firepower that Japan has. And then Cuba, Australia gave them a run for their money.
Good.
And Cuba's a solid team, and they're moving into the semifinals with Japan. And then we have 4 teams that still have to earn their spot in the semifinals, and only 2 can make it. So we got Puerto Rico and Mexico. Let's start with that one. Puerto Rico was who Edwin Diaz played for, correct?
Yeah.
So they were celebrating their win over the DR because that eliminated the Dominican Republic. The team that was supposed to be on fire, that was supposed to be the favorite in this tournament, that I think me and Chase both predicted to win the tournament, no longer here. That's the best thing about baseball. Any given day, any given team. And Puerto Rico's really shown how good of a team they truly are. And I think they've shifted into a very good position. Playing a Mexico team that's no scrub either. They got a lot of MLB talent. And they're going to be, I think that'll be a good game. What do y'all think about that one?
I think it's going to be a great game because I'm pretty sure they have Julio Urias in line to start for Mexico against Puerto Rico's lineup. And Julio Urias is other than Shohei, he might be the second best starting pitcher in the whole tournament. So that'll be fun to watch, Urias versus Puerto Rico's lineup. So I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah. I mean, who's Puerto Rico pitching? In the Stroman?
Probably Stroman. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good game. I don't know about Mexico because I feel like they had a really good game against the U.S. and then they shit the bed against Great Britain. So I don't know. I think they're a team to see the hit or miss, but I mean, I think they'll win this one against Puerto Rico.
I think for them to win, like I said, Julio Urias is going to have to shove because I don't think if they get into a shootout, they can outscore Puerto Rico. So they're going to have to keep this game low scoring in order to win, have it be a pitcher's duel up to where Urias has to come out of the game.
I think it's 85 now, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So he could potentially give them 5, maybe 6 innings.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it in the U.S.-Canada game, Lance Lynn gave 5 innings on 65 pitches.
Yeah.
That was a great outing by him. So it's just really, I feel like it really forces pitchers to be aggressive on the first pitch, getting the ball in the strike zone early, trying to get ahead in counts. And I feel it's shown that way. I feel like scoring's, somewhat up, not only because of the gap between competition of teams like Italy and Japan, for instance, but also just when you got pitchers on 65, 85 pitch counts, and you're Italy and your ace is having to pitch, and he gets to 40 pitches in the second or third inning, he's like, oh shit, I really got to start getting outs here. And then he's going to start pitching a little bit more aggressive, and that can lead to some more runs, in my opinion. And then also, I also think that Marcus Stroman's kind of the key factor in this game for Puerto Rico. He's a very, I wouldn't say inconsistent, but he has his ups and downs. He's he's a streaky pitcher. He's either on or he's really off.
He's going to give up contact. It's just whether it goes over the wall or not.
Yeah, and I think all Cubs fans would agree that Marcus Stroman, when he is on, he is an ace. And I think Puerto Rico's just hoping that they get the version of Marcus Stroman if they think they can. But other than that, I think this really has I feel like if you were a sinker ball pitcher, this is made for you. Ground ball contact, Zach Britton could go pitch fucking 60 pitches and get through 6 or 7 innings. He just spams sinker.
Yeah.
But Other than that, who do we have here? Do we have Puerto Rico? Who do we got? Who's playing Japan in the semifinal next week?
I'm going to say Mexico pulled off. I think this would technically be an upset. I bet Puerto Rico will be favored. So I'm going to say Mexico actually beats Puerto Rico, and then they'll get shit on by Japan. But I think Mexico wins this game.
Yeah, all right. So I already said it, but I'll say it again. I think Mexico does win. I think it'll be close. I think it'll come down probably the last 2 innings at least. And it'll be like a 1-2 score game, but I do have Mexico winning.
I also have Mexico winning, and the storyline kind of runs similar to Chase. I think it's going to come down to the last inning of the game. Puerto Rico is going to be pitching with no Edwin Diaz, and the lack of that closer is going to end up biting them, and Mexico takes it. I could just see that happening. Like, baseball's such a vengeful sport like that. Like, your biggest weakness could show up at any time, and I feel like now Puerto Rico definitely talented, but they don't have that closer now. But
yeah,
jumping across the bracket, we got Venezuela and the USA, and I think all of us agreed when we were predicting this video or predicting this bracket a couple weeks ago that Venezuela was the odd team looking in, but they were very talented at the same time, and we wouldn't be surprised if they made a run. And I think it was really between Puerto Rico and Venezuela on who would get that second spot. Well, actually, it was only Dominican Republic was that
they
team
told
trying to fight for that
they
second
told
spot.
DR to pack their bags.
Yeah, solid team. They can hit, they can pitch, and they're going against the USA team that has struggled in both phases through the group stages. They've had instances where they couldn't hit the ball very well, and they haven't been able to pitch it sometimes. But I will say, I didn't really get to watch, was it last night's game? The deciding game against Colombia. But the U.S., when they're actually stringing hits together, they put runs on in a hurry. Because I feel like the one thing about this USA team that's really good is they're just a speedy, athletic team. They can get extra bases. They can steal. Like, they're demons on the base pass. So they're able to score a lot more runs because it's not just a bunch of power guys where it's, a base at a time. But that being said, obviously the U.S. is the favorite, but it's not by a lot. It's not like Italy versus Japan. What do you think the USA comes out and does on Saturday?
I see this. I think if I'm right, I think Waino will probably be right back in line to start. Which I love Waino to death, but that's not good news because the top four of Venezuela's order is Ronnie, Altuve, Santander, Miguel Cabrera. So
single home run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. Ronnie and Altuve will get on, and Santander's been hitting like 3 or 4 bombs. That's what they do. So, I mean, if Waino is pitching, if he is up in line, then the bats are going to have to show up because this is going to be a freaking shootout. So we have the bats to do it, definitely. And I think that this will end up, or at least I hope, I think we'll look back after the tournament and we'll say that this could potentially be the best game of the whole tournament because Venezuela they're just on fire right now. They're hitting the ball where people aren't, and that's over the wall. So I expect it to be a great game.
Well, Chase, after he just said that, I want to transition to a question to you. So we just talked about Waino, obviously, potentially being up to start. And now at this point, we've seen Waino pitch. We've seen Nick Martinez, for some reason, pitch. We've seen Lance Lynn pitch and Merrill Kelly pitch. If you were Mark DeRosa and you had to pick between those 4 guys, excluding Merrill Kelly because he just pitched yesterday, who would you go with in the quarterfinal?
Definitely not Waino. I'd go with Lance Lynn every day of the week at this point. I mean, he looked like a Cy Young winner compared to the rest of them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long Waino's going to pitch either. He might get pulled second inning, especially if he gets rough in the first. You can't keep him out there no matter how much you love him. You got to pull him. I mean, fuck that. Pull him out. We got something to win, but. Yeah, I'd definitely go with Lance Lynn at this point.
I'm not trying to underestimate anybody, but if you look, Venezuela is, in my mind, obviously a tougher team to beat than Cuba, who's waiting in the next round. So, in my opinion, if Lance Lynn is good to go, if I'm the manager, I'm asking like, "Hey, is your arm good? Can you start?" If he says yes, I'm throwing him out there. And then against Cuba, you figure it out. I'd rather see Wayno out there than Nick Martinez, but definitely Lance Lynn is the answer there since Merrill Kelly just pitched.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a question for y'all.
Go for it.
So, who was the main reliever out? Was it one by one inning after Merrill Kelly came out?
I will go look real quick.
I know Devin Williams pitched 1 inning, and then
didn't Kendall Graveman come in?
He came in, yeah. I think they had 4 pitchers after.
It went Kelly, Graveman, Daniel Bard, David Bednar, Adam, Devin Williams, Ryan Presley.
Everybody pitched
1 inning.
Yeah, all their late inning relievers pitched. So
and pitched well too.
Yeah,
well, that's
glad
good.
we got the day off today and tomorrow.
Yeah, because we play 2 out of the next 3 days. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now, Chase or Kendall, both can give me your opinion here. I kind of have my own thought on it. If Wayno wasn't to start, what's stopping, honestly, Mark DeRosa from going from a Wayno and keeping his conventional 4 rotation to going to a Brady Singer or a Miles Michaelis and giving them the ball to start the game? They've been pitching 2-inning relieves for the most part in the pool. They've been like the first guy out the bullpen up until yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know Brady Singer for sure, and I know Michaelis was warming up to take out for Lynn if he hit the pitch count too early. So would you want – obviously I think we'd want either one of those guys over Wayno, right? Who would be your pick? Brady Singer or Miles Michaelis?
I would – if you want those, I'd rather start Michaelis and have Brady Singer ready to go because Brady Singer's got more relief experience.
Yeah, I'd do the same thing, but definitely both of them over Adam Wainwright.
Yeah, I'd rather see either one of them out there over Wayno.
I feel like he's only getting the start because like it's like a respect thing. Like, hey, was he 41, 42 now? And they're like, hey, here's your last ride, enjoy it. But at the same time, you may be screwing over the U.S. because you're going to be digging yourself in a hole, especially if they see the ball well, which they might because it's just BP out there with him. So,
and they have been all tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark DeRosa's only like 7 years older than Wayno. Like, they're not much simple. They're not that separated. I agree. I would start Michaelis, bring in Brady, and then I'd go, you got to rely on your bullpen here, but you can't rely on them too much. Like, you really got to have some patience with your starters now because you're playing back-to-back days. Like, if you go, like last night, you go Kendall Graveman, Evan Williams, Bednar, you're not going to have those guys on Sunday. I guarantee you their teams or them in general are not going to be very confident about going out back-to-back days pitching more than an inning at least. So especially if you get in some trouble, I really feel like you got to build yourself up for the championship. You got to look slightly ahead to Japan and know that it's probably going to take every guy in that bullpen to come out with a win against them if you can get there. So yeah, I would start Michaelis. Shit, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Wayno in for an inning. I think he can get through 3 batters in the bottom of an order once someone hits a pitch limit.
Yeah, not the top of the order, though.
Yeah. He doesn't need to be pitching against Altuve, Garani, and Santander because if he hangs a curveball 70 miles per hour on Anthony, he's sending that yard. Because you got to think, if you're Venezuela in batting practice this week, or like today probably, and you know Wayno's going to start, I'm taking VP. I'm taking like, hey, throw me some loopy fastballs in about 70. I'm just going to practice hitting those over the fence because that's exactly what they're going to do if Wayno comes out there and fuck around. So I know B-Rich is going to be pissed off hearing this, and I don't care. I'm sorry, B-Rich, but Wayno is not the answer to win this tournament. And I honestly feel like that unless Wayno gains 8 miles an hour and velocity for some reason, out of nowhere, we are going to lose.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: I have enjoyed watching the U.S. Offensively because I mean Mookie Betts and Trout, like that 1-2 combo has been pretty good for the most part because Mookie will get on base and then Trout just bats him in, and it's a nice little 1-2 punch. If Goldie and Arenado can kind of step it up, offensively, that'd be a wonderful help for the U.S. Especially with how Trout's batting. So something's got to give between those two.
I just wonder. I don't know if he played last night. Did Higgy play last night? Did Higgy get to come in at any point? I think Kendall's looking right now.
Yeah, can't remember.
No. So Higgy's yet to play in the WBC. I think he's the only player that has not played, which is probably fair when you have Will Smith and JT Realmuto. But I agree with you, Chase. Like Trout, Mookie, Trey, even Kyle Tucker, a lot of these top of the order guys on these major teams that they just get on base when they're hot. And then you got guys like Shorby that are going to knock them in. JT's a high average guy. They got a lot of high average guys. It just seems like they're either striking out in abundance or failing to get on base or they're hitting the gaps. And I wonder who Venezuela's going to pitch. And based on who they pitch, it might be somewhat of the same that we've seen earlier on in the tournament where we struggled. Or it could be like the Canada game and we go off for 6 or 7 runs in one inning.
Since you brought up like Schwarber and stuff, one of the biggest disappointments I feel like in this whole this team has been Pete Alonso. I think he's like 0 for something, and I mean to not get on base once, and like we played Great Britain. I mean I don't know if he even played that game, but still I think he got in that bat there to not get on base once. It's tough. It's tough to see, especially whenever he's one of your top power guys, and he's been tough to watch. And then the Mets players in general have been tough to watch because I think Jeff McNeil got replaced by Tim Anderson at second base, and Tim had never played second base before. So get the Mets out of here, I guess, right?
I feel like the power numbers in general for the U.S. has been kind of a disappointment. You see this U.S. team with Tucker, Schwarber, Alonso, Mookie, Trout. You're expecting to see bombs I feel like people are expecting to see a lot of home runs. And we really haven't seen it. I don't know how many we've had. I know who's hit some good ones. Trout's hit a good one, hasn't he? Mookie's hit one. Shorby's hit a couple, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, especially I think even Trey Turner's hit one. But it's just you would almost expect this team to be scoring more runs than they have up until this point. Obviously, the Canada game being the exception. I don't know what the final score was last night.
It was 4-3.
4-3.
Right?
Oof.
Yeah, there were 3-2.
Yeah. 3-2? Sorry, I knew it was one score.
I feel like this USA team should be putting up Japan numbers right now, scoring 9 runs, scoring 8 runs. But I guess we'll see. But go ahead, making our predictions here. We got USA, we got Venezuela. Who do you have going to the next round?
I'm going to say the USA does it, just because I'll be rooting for them, obviously. But honestly, in my opinion, this is literally a coin flip game. So I will not be surprised whatsoever if Venezuela knocks us out. But until then, go America, baby.
They said the expected starting pitcher is Perez.
Martin Perez?
Yeah. Oh, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
That means Pete Alonso. That means Pete Alonso will probably play again over Schwarber because he's a lefty.
Well, I think the U.S. will do it. I think. I think their offense is tricky, and I feel like this is a great game for them to step up and take off. Because other than the Canada game, I feel like they've been kind of sluggish. So at some point, it's got to pick up. Otherwise, you're going home. And I feel like now that they're in the quarterfinals, they'll play with some sense of urgency, which I feel like they've been lacking for the most part. But I think this is the game that the U.S. wakes up and they start their run. Now, how they will do against like Cuba and Japan, I don't know. But I feel like they'll have a good game against Venezuela. Can I say that?
For me, I think the USA will pull it off. I'm rooting for the US, obviously. It's really just going to be dependent on how long Wayno's in the game and what he does when he's in there. It's going to be hard for me to sit there and justify putting Wayno through more than once through the rotation. Because if you get to Acuna, Altuve, and Santander again, I feel like that's just a recipe for disaster. But if they get him through that first set of the order, they get him through 3 innings, and he doesn't allow a run, which I think is very much possible if he can get through the first inning especially. And then you bring in your bullpen, you bring in a guy like Michaelis or Brady Singer for 2-3 innings. They got a really solid shot at winning this game. And I think they will do that. I'm having some sort of hope in Wayno. Now, I did during his first at-bat against Great Britain, and then his second at-bat came, and he allowed the home run. I was like, well, fuck, here we go. Wayno's doing the thing. But I do have the U.S. going into the semifinal match with Cuba. So we got Cuba and we got the U.S. I don't know much about Cuba. I haven't really watched them so far in the WBC. They're obviously in the semifinals, so they're no scrubs. But we got a USA team hopefully coming off of a very high-impact win against Venezuela, and I think that's what's going to power them over a team like Cuba. They're going to have that fire set under them, like Chase was talking about, playing with that pride, that sense of urgency, and I think that's going to will them over Cuba either way. And Cuba's been off for a couple days. I feel like that might hurt them.
I think, I don't know, man. That's one of the tougher matchups. It could go either way. It all depends on the offense. I would think that they would put Lance Lynn out there, or would they? Or they would save him for Japan.
They'll probably if they'll probably throw Lance Lynn out there and Merrill Kelly for the championship if we make it there.
Yeah, I mean you gotta put him there because you can't risk it. You can't risk it at all against the Cuba team.
And who's the main stars of this Cuba team, by the way? Just for a refresher for people at home that might not know.
I'm going to look. Cuba, Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert. That's their 2 MLB guys, and they have a bunch of guys that are from Cuba, probably.
All right. So
that's 2 very, very solid MLB players.
Yeah. Moncada and Robert can hit the hell out of the ball. And the real truth is Cuban players, just like Japanese national players, are not scrubs at all. Primarily just because the competition is so high over there. And the opportunity to come to the U.S. and play in the MLB is not very high for Cuban players. So there's probably a MLB talent Cuban national players that just don't have the opportunity to leave or don't want to leave. So I think this is for the U.S. If you're looking across the other dugout, and you only see Yoan Moncada and Luis Robert that you can't sit there and underestimate this team because they will send you home if you do.
I think the U.S. takes it. Yeah, that's my thought.
Yep.
I do think the U.S. wins, but we've seen, like kind of what White was saying, we've seen what happens when the USA underestimates teams.
So, one half of our projected championship is made, and now we got to get to the second part. We got Japan, the team that just came off of a 9-3 win over Italy, versus, I said Mexico.
We all said Mexico.
We all said Mexico.
We all said Mexico. I thought for some reason Kendall said Puerto Rico. We got Mexico. Again, with Urias already pitching the night before. Or never mind. They don't play till Monday, so they got 2 days off. Still don't think Urias will pitch. Excuse Kendall's dog there. I don't think Urias will pitch, and I think that kind of puts Mexico in a vulnerable spot against Japan. Japan gets they played yesterday, didn't they? Or did they play today?
They played. Wait, when did they play? They played Friday. They play tomorrow.
They already played.
Who, Mexico?
No, Japan.
Oh, yeah, they played today. Sorry, they don't Mexico.
So they played today. So they're off until Monday. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So more than likely, Shohei will pitch, or one of their other top national guys will pitch.
Yeah.
If I'm Japan, I'm probably saving Shohei for the championship game, just because they do have such a talented starting rotation with multiple guys that can throw over 100. So I'd probably start one of those foreign national players against Mexico, because I feel like the score will be similar to the Italy-Japan game in the first round, like a 6-2, 7-3 kind of game, multiple runs, never really a doubt in your mind. Cruise on to the championship game. That's who I got. I got Japan winning this one pretty handily.
Yeah, there's really no analyst type stuff you need from me. It's going to be Japan. I feel like Japan is the powerhouse of this whole tournament, and I feel like the U.S. and DR were the two closest ones, but I feel like Japan's the most complete team, so I got Japan winning.
Yeah, I don't see, honestly, anybody stopping Japan right now. They have shown any signs for anybody to slow them down. So I've got Japan beating whoever wins that game. In our case, we pick Mexico, so I've got Japan beating Mexico there. And I hope that they save Shohei for a Shohei pitching versus, in my opinion, either the U.S. or Venezuela, whoever wins, because that would be very fun to watch.
And we can talk about the championship on Monday, right?
Yes.
Yep.
We can predict the championship on Monday. I just hope to God, just to finalize this up, if the U.S. does play Cuba, I really hope Nick Martinez doesn't start against Cuba.
Yeah, please God.
Because that could be bad.
You would think if Wayno is next in line, it would go Wayno, Lance Lynn, Merrill Kelly if we were to win those games.
Yeah. See, I'd rather start a Michaelis Brady Singer and save Lance Lynn for the championship at this point, because golly, he's the best pitcher we got.
He was shoving.
Yeah.
With all them cheeseburgers in his belly.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks